Afraid of rejection. This is a bit of a sensitive topic because it's very, very real to many people. Mostly based in wanting to please, that I really don't want to be the one to cause my in-laws or my parents or my people that are close to me, that I value and are dear to me. I don't want to upset them. I don't want to cause them concern. And I also don't want them to not accept me. So I'm afraid that I'm going to be rejected and not accepted, and they're not going to accept this decision of us as a family wanting to home educate. And that fear kind of gets in the way of you being able to move forward and doing the very thing that's your heart's desire. So the reason why I say it's a sensitive one, with obviously it is, but sensitive because it's not something that can be addressed lightly and in any comforting kind of way, I don't think, because it doesn't belong, all right? Rejection of feeling rejected by others doesn't belong. You need to dispel it. You need to go, I won't be rejected. If this is what I'm called to do, if this is what our family's called to do, I'm going to help other people to see how convicted we are and ask them if they have concern about us making this decision to home educate our children and to follow this way. And it's different to the norm and different to how they think it should be. And their concerns are real. They care about us. They care about our family, our children. Maybe in some instances they care. Maybe other instances just being purely judgmental. Well, if it's purely judgmental, well then leave that. That's between them and God. You can pray. And if it's somebody that's genuinely concerned, grandparents, for example, they're genuinely concerned about it's something foreign. They don't understand that, about what about the children's sport and what about their certificates and awards and what about their peers and all those. And they're really concerned that their grandchildren there's going to be some lack. And so you feeling that from them because you're hearing that their concerns. And so you feel you're not accepted by them and they're not going to approve this decision you made. They're not supporting it, let's say. I just want to say to you that don't look to the voices and even where they're coming from, even the most caring person. Look to God and say, God, have you called me to do this? Is this something you are asking us, our family, to follow after you in this way? Do we feel convicted in our hearts? Do we feel this is what we ought to be doing? And if the answer is yes there, then you press forward with that and you don't allow the outside influences to cause you to feel rejected to the point of actually not following after God's calling. That's what I was saying, it's sensitive. There's no nice way to say it other than dispel those fears that are coming at you and be obedient to following after what it is that is in your heart. Now, I can take this further and say, once you've got over that and said, right, I'm not going to let that bother me, I'm not going to let it influence me and stop us from doing what we feel convicted to do, you can take it the next step and you go to those very people that are expressing their concern and even those that you're feeling judged by, and you ask them to please support you and consider that this decision you're making and this thing, maybe you've already made the decision, but this thing that you're doing, and that is home educating and keeping your children at home, is something you feel very convicted by. It's something that you as a family have agreed upon. Maybe there's even a member in the family that doesn't actually want to be home educated, one of the children, and you're feeling rejected even by your own child for making this decision. Well, again, I would say to you, you need to say to that child, this is something God has called us to do. We are parents, we're an authority over you, and this is something He's asked us to do. So we're going to trust Him. We're going to walk by faith. We're going to call on Him, and we're going to pull together and do this very thing because it can only be good. If He's asked us to do it, it can only be good for this particular family. And you be careful not to judge those who are saying to you, you should have your children in school or whatever it is, and then judge them for not doing what you feel you called to do, because they must do what they feel they called to do. It's not for you to judge them. So what I'm suggesting is that you become confident and strong in your own calling and get your whole family in that place. Help your children to feel confident that you are confident in God, that this is what you're called to do. Then pray for those that you feel are judging you or rejecting you. Pray for them. Ask them to please support you. Say, please, can you support us in this calling? Speak to the grandparents and say, we know this is tough. We know it's different. We know it's not the norm and what you're used to. And yet this is something we believe very strongly that we should do. Even if you believe we're making a mistake in this big decision, please can we ask you to pray for us? Because if it was a mistake, or if it is a mistake, we need your prayer. But we cannot ignore this prompting and this calling in our hearts. So we want to be obedient to God ultimately, and we're asking for your support in that. And I have to say that I haven't heard of a testimony where a family has failed so hopelessly in home education that the parents have been able to say, the grandparents have been able to say, well, we told you it was going to go badly. I actually don't know of a testimony like that, quite honestly. And we have thousands of home educators, families that we are serving. And I haven't had that testimony. If anybody's listening to this and they'd like to tell me of a testimony as such and correct me, well, then let me know. But to this date, I don't have such a testimony. In fact, I have the opposite. And that's the good news I have for you. I have heard of grandparents that were so concerned about the well-being of their grandchildren and the decisions their children were making. And then they start to see that their grandchildren start to grow in ways that are different to what they were expecting, but they're good different. And so the grandparents become well pleased. And to me, that is a fantastic testimony, because God is well pleased with this decision when parents choose to home educate. I only can consider and imagine him being well pleased, because I believe it's his heart for parents to make this commitment. And in no way is that judging parents that make another choice for the way that they educate their children. Not by any means. I'm just expressing my experience of families within home education, because that's what I know and that's who we serve. So I really, really hope that you will not feel rejection as one of your fears to be causing a stumbling block before you to be able to pursue that what God has called you to.